You're listening to the Power Agent Blogcast, empowering agents to elevate their business to the next level.
Challenges are just a guide, leading you, don't run and hide. You've got the heart, you've got the drive, feel it pound, you're alive. Power Agent.
I mean, if you've been in the game for 5 minutes, you know the scenario. You take a listing, everything looks dialed in.
Oh, absolutely.
The staging is flawless, the photography sings, the initial pricing feels, spot on.
Yep.
You launch it, you hold your breath, and then nothing.
Silence.
Yeah.
Crickets. It's the moment professionals just dread. It is the ultimate real estate headache.
It really is.
And the knee-jerk reaction, the path of least resistance, is to immediately pivot and
Drop the price.
dock the price.
Yeah.
We just assume the market is rejecting the home solely because of that dollar sign.
But that's such a dangerous assumption. What if the price is exactly right, but the issue is, say, the first photo buyers see, or the story in the description?
Right.
How do we stop guessing which lever to pull, price adjustment versus a marketing refresh, without burning time and, more importantly, seller confidence?
That is the core challenge we are tackling today. We're taking a deep dive into a really powerful data-driven framework. It's called the Listing Report Card. And this method, it gives you a concrete process to strip the emotion out of those tough decisions. You use actual buyer engagement data to diagnose exactly what is holding that listing back.
So our mission here is to move you from those vague hunches, those whispered anxieties between you and the seller, to a concrete, evidence-backed strategy. We're basically treating the listing not as this emotional asset, but as a student receiving a fair, consistent grade.
And it's judged only by the actions of the buyers themselves. This is your shortcut to strategic clarity.
Okay, so where do we start?
Let's start at the very beginning, because success here, it depends entirely on getting accurate data. So, step one, you have to accurately identify your true competition.
This sounds easy, but I feel like this is where the whole thing can collapse.
It often does.
Sellers always want to compare their property to, the highest priced listing that closed 3 months ago.
Or that luxury listing 2 blocks over that's priced 50% higher.
Exactly.
And buyers just don't operate that way. They don't look at listings in a vacuum. When they search online, they are comparing properties side by side, and it's within a really narrow band.
So if your listing is, say, $400,000, your competition isn't the entire neighborhood.
Not at all. The true competition is that hyper-focused group the buyer is actively scrolling through right now.
Browse right.
Exactly. We need to be specific, really tactical. For a $400,000 listing, you're looking at homes probably priced between, say, $350,000 and $450,000.
Okay.
We suggest you pull the data for the 5 to 7 closest comparable properties that are currently active, the ones competing for that buyer's attention right now. Just write them down.
So that sets the stage. Now, let's move to step 2, gathering the raw numbers. And this can be a point of contention for a lot of professionals, but it's critical for this method. We're relying on Zillow data.
I know. There's often this, professional reluctance about Zillow's valuations or data integrity, but we have to acknowledge the reality of it. Zillow is the #1 search engine for buyers today. If you want to know what buyers are doing, you have to go where the buyers are.
That's a really key distinction.
This isn't about appraisals. It's about behavioral data.
So we're not trusting its estimates, we're trusting its traffic reports. The platform gives you 2 essential metrics you can capture in seconds for your listing and for all your rivals.
Right. And those are the number of views and the number of saves.
Okay.
Views are pretty straightforward. That's your raw traffic, how many people saw your listing and clicked on it. Saves. Saves are the gold standard. That is how many people hit that little heart icon.
They favorited the listing. And what's fascinating here is the story those 2 numbers tell when they start to diverge. A view is passive.
Yeah, it's like someone driving past a nice restaurant.
Right. A save is active engagement. It's like them taking a photo of the menu and saying, hey, we need to come back here.
A save means the buyer believes this home is a viable contender. They're adding it to their mental shortlist. So we aren't just measuring visibility, we're measuring true internalized interest.
Commitment.
Real commitment.
Okay, so let's take these raw numbers and turn them into the insight we actually need. This brings us to section 2, the quantitative heart of this whole process. Step 3 is calculating the core metric, the save ratio.
The formula is simple, but it's incredibly revealing. The save ratio is just the number of views divided by the number of saves.
And here's the crucial part we have to get our heads around. The smaller the resulting number, the better the engagement.
That's the key.
A small number means you need fewer views to get a buyer to actually save your property. Your listing is sticking.
Let's make that concrete with some examples, because this is really the foundation of the diagnosis. So imagine listing A. It's got 500 views, but only 10 saves.
Okay.
You divide 500 by 10, you get a save ratio of 50. That means you need 50 unique views just to get one single buyer to save the property. That's low engagement.
Yeah, very low. Now compare that to listing B, also 500 views, but this one has 50 saves. 500 divided by 50 gives you a ratio of 10.
Big difference.
Huge! You only need 10 views to earn a save. Listing B is a rock star. It's standing out.
That ratio is your stickiness score.
Yeah.
So once you have that save ratio for your listing, and for those 5 to 7 comps, you move to step 4, establishing the market interest benchmark.
This is where we define what normal looks like in your immediate competitive slice of the market.
Right.
You just average the save ratios of all those comparable listings. So if listing A is 50, C is 40, D is 60, you average them all up. Let's say that average comes out to 45. That 45 is your baseline.
And now comes the moment of truth, the diagnostic comparison. You compare your listings ratio against that benchmark. This is where you get your action plan.
Okay, and we need to be really precise here. There are 2 key scenarios.
2 scenarios. First one, high ratio, which means low engagement. So if your listings ratio is high, say it's 60, compared to that benchmark of 45, your engagement is poor. It's taking you more views than average to earn a save. So what does that tell you?
That tells us the problem is your initial presentation and visibility.
Yes.
Buyers are seeing that thumbnail photo and just scrolling right past it, or they click through and immediately hit the back button. The issue is probably the cover photo, the staging, maybe the description.
Or the overall perceived value at that price. The action here is to invest in better visuals and marketing copy. The market is effectively telling you, we are not interested enough to keep this one.
Okay, so that's scenario 1. What about scenario 2? A low ratio, meaning high engagement. This one is kind of paradoxical.
It is.
Let's say your listings ratio is 20, so it's significantly below the 45 benchmark. That's superior engagement. Buyers are loving what they see in the search results. They are saving it.
But, and this is the big but, if you have that great engagement, that low ratio, but you're still getting no calls, no showings, no offers, the problem has shifted entirely. The marketing is working flawlessly to generate interest, but something is stopping them from taking that next step.
So a low ratio with crickets means the issue is not visibility or the first impression. The problem is some specific barrier that only reveals itself after the buyer has already committed.
Precisely. This forces you to look deeper.
Okay.
It transforms this vague problem of the listing isn't moving into an acute diagnosis. Is the price, though it seems attractive enough for saves, actually too high once they see all the details?
Or are the interior photos showing some kind of flaw or needed renovation? Is the description burying a critical piece of information like, I don't know, the property backs up to a noisy highway?
Exactly.
This is strategic clarity. If you're at 20 saves, don't just jump to dropping the price. First, you need to audit the entire listing package for some kind of fatal flaw. Maybe you need a drone video or a virtual staging refresh.
Or a price adjustment that's specific to the home's condition, not just some desperate drop. That segmentation high ratio equals a marketing problem. Low ratio equals a price or detail problem. That is what turns your hunches into professional action.
And this clarity, it transitions perfectly into section 3, which is the strategic application. So step 5 is using this data as a lever for those difficult seller conversations.
It's all about removing the confrontation. You're no longer the bearer of bad news who's demanding a price drop based on your gut feeling.
Okay.
You shift the dynamic. Instead of saying, I think we need to drop the price, you say, I can show you exactly how our listing stacks up against the 5 similar homes buyers are looking at right now. The market data is telling us where to focus.
And that has to reduce defensiveness immediately. The agent becomes the interpreter of objective market facts, working with a seller to solve a shared, quantifiable problem.
It changes the whole conversation from your opinion versus mine to
The buyer data versus the benchmark.
exactly. And beyond that, this data gives you critical strategic perspective. What if you run the report, you calculate the market interest benchmark, and you find out that every single listing in that $400,000 price band has a save ratio of 55 or 60?
And that only listings in the $300,000 band are getting a good ratio, like 20.
Right. If the whole pool is performing poorly, the problem isn't your home. It's the market segment.
It could be seasonal timing or interest rates hitting that specific buyer demographic.
Exactly. And that knowledge keeps you calm. Instead of panicking and demanding a price drop that's not necessary, you can tell the seller, look, our listing is performing right on target with the competition. This is a temporary slowdown in our price range, so we hold steady.
It lets you build so much trust. And that leads right into step 6, the need for continuous monitoring. This isn't a one-and-done document.
No, the market moves at the speed of light. The report card is a living diagnostic. You have to rerun this assessment regularly. We recommend every 30 days.
At least.
New comps appear, others sell, buyer behavior shifts. You want to capture those Zillow data points, maybe every Monday morning, just to keep a consistent weekly snapshot.
And if your ratio stays strong compared to the competition, you stay the course. But if you see the competition start to get stickier, maybe the benchmark ratio drops from 45 down to 35.
Because new, well-priced homes just hit the market.
Right. And if your performance hasn't kept pace, that's your cue. It's time to revisit the marketing, refresh the visuals, or proactively start that price discussion with fresh, undeniable evidence.
That constant checkup ensures you're always making adjustments based on real-time feedback, not just, waiting for the 90-day contract to run out.
Okay, finally, let's cover step 7, which is professional presentation. The data is only persuasive if it's delivered in a way that's understandable. You can't just hand the seller a spreadsheet.
No, you have to translate those numbers to a consumable format. Use a simple branded worksheet or a digital tool. The visualization is everything.
So instead of just listing ratios, you categorize the performance.
Exactly. Give it a grade format. If the listings ratio is way better than the benchmark, so a low number, that's an A-grade listing for engagement.
If it's performing right around the benchmark, that's a B.
And if it's significantly worse, a high number, that's a C grade.
And when a seller sees a clear C grade next to their property, the need for some kind of intervention is just immediately apparent.
It shifts the entire purpose of the meeting from resistance to collaboration. They are empowered to make a decision with you, their expert guide, rather than fighting against your personal recommendation.
The listing report card, it ultimately provides you with a massive advantage. Confidence rooted in facts, not just hunches. It keeps sellers engaged, informed, and realistic.
And when you can systemize that emotional volatility out of real estate, you gain speed and you gain clarity. You make smarter adjustments faster. And that transparent process, it just builds client trust exponentially.
It demonstrates without question that you are tracking the market, not just hoping for a buyer to show up. So, what does this all mean for you, the listener? We've walked through the 7 actionable steps to implement this entire diagnostic method. And this is really more than just analyzing views and saves. It's about professionalizing the conversation around pricing and marketing strategy.
It is.
Because great agents, they don't just market homes. They teach sellers how to interpret and understand the market itself. By mastering this report card, you really solidify your role as that essential expert guide.